see how...
So you learn something during the test.
That's how we like to do things. We learn things so easily. Yeah, and you're going to learn things here too tonight here on CKiW iRADIO 76. You're in with the ALL4GEARS Show. Hi everybody, John Sarver here at CKiW iRADIO 76. Again, we are here with Dell's dad. You may have heard with before. This is an interesting story. We're just talking off camera. Of course, we are with CHRIS HOLBROOK, HOLBROOK Racing. You will always be Carl's kid or Dell's dad.
Right.
I mean, but Dell isn't Dell.
Well,
Tell the story.
Well, my real name is actually Carl Christopher Holbrook.
You're a junior?
No, my dad was Carl Delaniel Holbrook, and that's where Dell got his name. Dell is Delaniel, and so we named Dell after my dad's middle name, which was Delaniel, and my dad hated the name. He would never tell anybody what his middle name was, but I liked it, and my wife Holly liked it, so we named Dell Delaniel.
And so it's like, Dad, terrific news, we have a son. Guess what we named him?
Yeah.
And so what did he do? Throw something at you? Or
No.
did he write you out of the will and say thanks a lot?
Unfortunately, my dad passed before Dell was born. He knew my daughter Sabrina, but he wasn't around when my son was born.
So it was okay to name him Dell. Yeah, you have two children,
Yes.
right? How easy was it to pass that through Holly and say, your wife, and say, gee, wouldn't it be nice if Dell kind of followed and started drag racing and do something dangerous as opposed to maybe being a chef?
Well, my daughter Sabrina actually raced for a few years. We had a Fox Body Mustang. We put a Coyote in it.
Funny enough how that worked out.
And she did quite well. She ran open comp, and she did really well. And she got married, and she's decided to try to have a family and get me some grandkids. You know what I mean? So
I know. So all right.
we got to keep it going, you know.
But then, how does that work out? Would then the first grandchild somehow be Chris? I guess could be a Chris.
It could be.
Or they don't come back to your house at Christmas.
I don't know. I guess that's up to her and her husband. You know?
Yeah, but don't you have a little bit of pull there?
No. I'd like to say I do, but you know how that goes.
All right. So, is Dell cool with it? I mean, because how many people are named?
Well, you know, we kind of years ago we were walking through the pits at NHRA event when Dell Worsham was heavily driving funny car, and we stopped and we chatted. Said, "Hey, our son's name is Dell also." Well, he wouldn't tell us his real name. He says it's not Delaniel, and I'm not telling you what it is. So it's just kind of funny.
So everybody's name is Dell. Really isn't Dell. There is some kind of shame attached to the back of Dell. You know?
Dell loves it. I mean, in school and everything, he never had a problem with
He's only Dell.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but he doesn't go by the full.
No, he goes by Dell.
He's too casual.
Yeah, and it's Delaniel Christopher, so he is.
So he's a DC?
DC.
I mean, if he ever wanted to be a rapper, there you kind of go.
No.
For those who know, we are coming to you live, of course, from Holbrook Racing here on Merriman, right? Or
Schoolcraft in Merriman.
That's right. No, maybe we shouldn't say where you're at. You know, all you Godzilla people, stay away. Just kidding. And so if you hear some background noises going on, it's because we want, again, in keeping with the ALL4GEARS Show, we go to where the guests are. You know, this is the natural habitat. How many hours do you spend here a day?
I usually get here at 6:30 in the morning and leave 5:30, 6 o'clock at night.
That's it? You go home that early?
I do. And The reason I do that is...
This should be good. Hang on, kids.
No, I mean, back in the day, my dad spent his entire time at the shop, and it causes friction at home with the wife, you know. So I told myself, when I get my own business, I'm going to work my 10 hours, 12 hours a day, and I'm going to be home for my wife and my family, and that's what I do.
But she's here.
Yeah, but it's different because we argue during the day.
Ever go to the point where you fire her?
No. She might fire me.
And then all of a sudden you get that fire time phone call? Something about 50%?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, how hard is that, though? Because that can't be easy. Or maybe it is easy.
You know, it's trying at times, you know, but she helps out quite a bit, so it actually helps me a lot, you know. So, and she's learned quite a bit just by hanging out and answering phones, and she'll talk one-on-one with customers on the phone, and they're like shocked, like, oh my gosh, she knows what she's talking about, you know.
Like, what would they quiz her on?
Well, you know, like they'll ask about machining, you know, and tuning and stuff like that, and she'll give them answers, you know, and they'll like, oh, you don't have to go get somebody, you know. So
you're not just a dumb dame.
Right, exactly.
God, they still do those kind of things nowadays?
Yes, they do, unfortunately.
But how long has she been working here? Of course, Holly, we're talking about.
Since...
More than 5 years?
Oh, yeah. Probably 12.
Has she asked for a raise?
No. she handles the pace. I don't even know what she gets paid.
Another deficit this year, right, honey? You know, but oh look, I just bought that new 42-foot C-Ray out back. I'm not sure how that got here.
No, she's actually pretty frugal, so I never have to worry about her, you know.
Yeah, but that's got to be tough because you don't get away from it.
No, but I don't know. We've been together since 1984, so we're just good friends, you know.
And what was that first car of hers? The story, in case you haven't heard this story, it was on the original 515 when we had Chris on the first time. And it was like, here we go. I mean, her first car was...
Her very first car?
Yeah, the one that everybody taught how to race in.
Oh,
the dating car.
Oh, yeah, our Galaxy.
Yeah.
Yes, 63 Galaxy.
And it was like, here we go, honey.
Yep, and I actually picked her up on our second date in that, and...
well, wait a minute, what was the first date? A fine GTX, you say?
No, it was a blind date, and we were with another couple, so...
A blind date?
Yeah, we met, that's how we met. Our friends introduced us, and we went out on a blind date with the other couple, and that's how we met.
What were you thinking going into this?
At that
Good.
time? At that time?
Yeah.
Am I going to get lucky tonight? Well, you asked.
So you were thinking about going to the MGM? Yeah. Egad. But then you got a second date out of
So
the
I
deal.
got a second date out of it because I didn't get lucky the first date. So. But anyway, so...
So when did you think the Galaxy was going to seal the deal?
Well, maybe, you know.
What year are we talking?
Oh, man, 84.
84, and you show up in a 63?
Yeah.
And you're thinking, hopefully this will do the trick?
Yeah.
You know how women work, right? They like to see that Phantom or the Rolls Royce show up. Now,
No, she really enjoyed that car, and... you know,
look at your eyebrows go up. She really enjoyed it.
She did. And we actually had to sell that to put our down payment on our first house. And she cried for a week, you know. So
Really?
Oh, yeah.
For the sentimental value, or she really liked the car?
Both, you know.
Do you know where the car's at?
I do.
This is going to be good. All right, so somebody's getting lucky with it somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. I don't think it's running because I have the engine. Yeah, he actually came to me and wants to build an engine. He says, this is going to be a slow project. He goes, but I'm going to start bringing you parts, you know, here and there. So we actually have the block and the cylinder heads. And, you know, so we get to do the engine for it. So I think that's kind of neat, you know.
Yeah, but if you have a couple of coins in the pocket, just on sentimentality, I mean, wouldn't you just say how much you want for it? Unless he knows you want it. It's $6 million.
No, he's actually a good guy too, and the guy that bought it off of me was his uncle. So it's kind of in the family, but he doesn't want to get rid of it because it was his uncle's car.
Didn't his uncle have another car?
I'm sure he did at some point.
Could you give him your daughter's Fox body and then
I
like,
sold
swap
that
it
too.
out?
So.
To put that on another down payment on another? You know, when you said people are bringing parts in little by little, I mean, it's got to be tough. As long as you've been building engines, and we're seeing all around here, man, if you're a Ford enthusiast or a drag racing enthusiast whatsoever, it's like Cedar Point around here. Look at all this stuff. If we could just have all the employees and Chris look that way for about 20 minutes, you know, we'll be right back. Keep that back door open.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but I mean, before when we talked, it's tough getting parts now, isn't it?
It is, and you know, these days you have to buy pretty much everything in bulk that you know that you're going to use, because if you don't, when you have to get an engine done for a customer that has to be at a race next week or 2 weeks down the road, if you don't have the part, you're SOL, you know, and so now you got to buy everything in bulk and keep it on the shelf, and hopefully you buy enough.
Is there anything that you had to buy, you just needed one or two and you had to buy, and you go, great, now what is this going to do?
No, well, I mean, the expensive part is cylinder blocks, you know, like in our Coyotes, we run an aftermarket block. It's a Bear Motors block, and you know, you got to buy 10 at a time, you know, and they sit around until you actually sell engines and, you know, and utilize them. So, I mean, it gets costly.
Well, thank God they're cheap.
Yeah.
Look at the eyes go up. Maybe, yeah. I mean, if you're going to have to buy those, because we understand buying pistons is hard. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, but then again, we were talking to Brian Wolf just a couple of 515s ago, and he said, man, it's hard trying to find labor. Forget about getting parts. Find people that can actually do this.
Oh yeah, and thank God I have a good group of guys, and they've been with me for a while, and you got to keep them happy, you know, to keep what you have, you know, because if you lose them, then you're screwed, because there's nobody else out there, you know. I mean, it's hard to find people that know this business that want to work.
Well, that's how we were talking about, even at ALL4GEARS. It's like there's a certain age, and once this is passing, it's not like those new kids nowadays,
right.
You know, want to get behind a CNC or know what even a Bridgeport is.
Yeah.
You know, they can do this.
Yeah.
I mean, without trying to sound too much like a Gen X person, but, you know, it's got to be hard. How do you find people that know how to do this, how to run a dyno, how to do heads?
Like I said, it's hard to find. I mean, and then you have some of these schools that try to teach them and
listen to that word.
Well, I mean, some of them just, I don't know.
Pass them through?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not good, you know, because they get a diploma and they think they know it all, and they come in and they actually don't know nothing, you know. I mean, you have to retrain them all over again, you know.
And then your heart sinks because It says you know how to do a 3-valve job. And
yep.
I mean, but Dell's in a different situation because he's working not here.
Right. He's actually working for Bohr Racing Products, running all their CNC machines. And when people hear that he's running CNC machines and he's racing, and they say that's a rarity, you know. And it's like you don't see that these days, you know.
And he's not 35.
No, he's
graduated.
20. Yeah, he's 20, and so I mean, he does great. I'm proud of him. He gets up every morning at 4:30, goes and works out before work, and goes to work, and he don't get
works
home till,
out.
Yep.
The kid's 21 pounds.
I know. What he's trying to get 22.
Out for bulking up. Okay.
Yeah, he's trying to bulk up, and he's actually wanting to get ready for our new car that we're having built, because he says, Dad, I want to get in there and pull the trans out and work on the clutch, and you know, I got to get strong to do that. And I said, all the power to you.
How does this work? Because this would normally be one of those situations, son, this could all be yours one day. You know, I mean, here's my shoes, fill them, hop on that machine over there. How come he didn't work for you?
Well, because he went to school to run CNCs, to learn how to run CNCs, and I figured I don't really have full CNC machines. Eventually I will.
You have half a CNC?
Well, I get it like a manual CNC, my boring bar that, you know, that we machine all our blocks. It's kind of a manual CNC. It's not automated, you know. So it's not the same as you know, running a full CNC machine, you know, like a 5-axis. So I called I know Jeff Bohr, he was a good friend of mine, and I called him up and I said, hey, my son went to school for CNC. I know you got CNC. He goes, send him over, you know. So
what a gift.
So he went over there, and he calls me back and he says, you're never getting them back. You know, so, but, you know, eventually, you know, I think we'll get our own CNC machines, and we'll kind of incorporate Dell back in and restructure the business, and, you know, that could be the future, you know.
So here's the deal. Go to somebody else's place, screw up, learn, come back here. You know?
Well, you know, I mean, there's nothing like hands-on training, and, you know, and Jeff does a great job with him over there. He makes him learn. Like, if Dell has a question, he's like, go figure it out. And that's how it should be. You know, he's like, okay, before you push the button, though, come get me. And make sure
I figured it out, buddy. There.
But he makes them think and makes them figure it out on his own. He doesn't just go and say, hey, do this, do that. You know, he says, figure it out, come get me, and then I'll let you know if you did it right or not. So he's been learning quite a bit that way. And like I said, he runs all their CNC machines over there, so he's doing really well.
So now flip that. Now, so that goes from you to Dell, from you to your dad. When it became, I mean, your dad ran for, the great Carl Holbrook, ran for how long? For a drag race, as soon as, I guess, you were a toddler.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was racing before I was alive, you know, and we actually, I was born in New Jersey. Yeah. He worked for a national can company, and his old stomping ground was Englishtown.
Wow,
where he
nice
ran.
stomping ground.
Yeah. And so going back a few years ago, when I went back there to run NHRA and run Factory Showdown, there was a lot of people coming up. Oh man, we knew your dad when he raced here. And it was just kind of a small world, you know. And
he owes me $10.
Yeah, you know, he kicked my ass back then, you know.
And I'm back to take it out of you. And I go, wow. I mean, how does that? It's in a way that has to like hold your attention for a second. Hey, I knew your dad. Okay. And so do you think, all right, either this is going to be really well, or? Yeah.
No, it's. I mean, to be honest with you, there's so many. I go to different tracks, you know, and there's so many people that come up and they have nothing but good things to say about my dad, because he was a good racer, and he helped a lot of people out back in the day, and he really loved, you know, mainly the 428 Cobra Jet and the Mustangs, and he did quite well.
So is that why you went full Mopar here? I mean,
I mean, we actually do everything here, but you know, like back when we were running, we ran iRADIO Mountain Motor Pro Stock back in the day. We were doing, you know, the 800 cubic inch engines, and then now we're working on 300 cubic inch engines, you know, with a little bit more valves, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, besides the sheer, you know, no replacement for cubic displacement.
Right.
And back in the day, the bigger the block, you know. But then again, you take a look at kind of like the street Hemi, you know, 425 horsepower out of this big humongous thing. And now you see something, you know, and it's 700 horsepower out of a 6.1, huh? Ooh.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, everything that you've seen, because you've really seen it from your dad, you know, just brute 428, and here we go, to even the Coyote and all of this. The reason, I mean, you're known for the Coyote engine. I mean, there is just certain things that certain people are attached name to, you know. I mean, the Coyote engine got your attention. Why? There's so many other engines out there.
Well, I mean, mainly because that was the newest engine. And when we first started, when I started my business, I actually had to sell my IHRA Pro Stock car and my 800-inch engine just to start my business. You know, because my dad, before he passed, he sold the business to Stu Evans.
Ooh.
Yeah. So then Stu Evans sold it to Livernois, and I worked for Livernois for a little bit, and then I said, you know what, I need to start my own place back up. So that's when I came over here. I sold a lot of my stuff off and started basically my own business back. So,
but how did that work? Because you had normally just somebody doesn't wake up and go, I think I'm going to start my own business today. I'm going to sell a lot of my assets and away we go.
It was, I don't know, it was very scary, I'll tell you that, because going from a place that was known and, and my dad's old customers was there at Livernois because they kind of followed me over there,
Funny enough how that worked.
Yeah. And it just wasn't working out over there because that's more of a family business.
It was more family than where it says Holbrook.
Right, but they bought the Holbrook name, and so anyways,
Seems to be a story behind the curtain there. Okay.
So I decided, you know what, I just need to go on my own, and it was very scary. And
how old were the kids?
Well, young. I think Sabrina had to be probably 7 or 8.
Which puts Dell a lot younger.
Yeah, yep.
And so how was that dinner table discussion?
Oh, it was.
It was like, gee, honey, it'd be crazy, what we should do. Forget about having insurance and all that other stuff.
Yeah. It was a very difficult time in our lives, but look at us now. We made it work.
How long did it take you to get up to terminal velocity speed?
Oh, a couple years.
Was there any time where you kind of went,
what did I do?
Yeah, was Holly looking at you going, well, big shot?
Well, the funny thing is, it just started my business and, in here by myself, so I got the doors kind of locked and just the phone on.
In this place, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And got a bell on the door, and you, oh, wow, customer. So you go open the door. Hey, you started this new business. You want to sponsor me? And I'm like,
okay,
really? I
great.
just started,
Yeah, here's $20.
It's amazing on how many times that happened, and it's like, it was just kind of funny, But here we are today, and we are helping a few customers, racers, because, we're kind of in a spot where we can do that, and I know...
I.e. rich.
No, by no means we are rich. You know that house that I sold to Galaxy for? I still live in it today, and I ain't lying.
Yeah, but big deal, 6,000 square foot, it's nothing to...
Yeah, my motorhome's bigger than my house, so that's what that way.
It's phenomenal how that happens, too, because people think...
Oh, they do. They do. And
it's got to be rough, though, on both, because you've seen it from both sides with sponsorship. That's tough in drag racing.
Yes, it is. Thank God, back in the day, we had someone, come up and wanted to invest in us and run pro stock. And, I would have never done that. My dad or myself had money to do that, and we got a sponsor to do it, and it was awesome,
Well, your dad's sponsor, back in the day, he had to do the whole thing too. Did you ever watch him approach like potential sponsors and say, so you could figure out kind of how this works, or was that already done by the business stuff was done by the time you got there?
No, most of it was, but back then it was a little differently, because I don't know. Today it's kind of weird to explain, because back then it was more of a go talk to the guy in person and handshake and you're done, and now it's just kind of like you got the internet
contract to the first part.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but how do people? Obviously Holbrook Racing is a huge name and it's extremely well respected, and so I would assume that you would be a huge target for everybody that has one to say, hey, sponsor me.
Well, like I said, that happens quite a bit, but you can only do so much, So, but you know, like even this new car that we're building, without Lou Stanford, which is a good friend, and his love and passion for the Ford and the Mustangs is just unbelievable. And he's helped out a lot of local guys with
Lou Stanford?
Yeah.
Does that name sound familiar?
Varsity Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's been friends of mine, my dad's mine, for years, and he's helped us out in the past. And they're helping us out with the Factory X car. And without him, we wouldn't be doing it, you know.
We want to talk about the Factory X car in a minute. We also want, the thing that fascinated me, and we were talking to the folks at Roseville Moparts in Gowling and the Chrysler side of town, is that back in the, and let us not keep referring to your dad's as like an old time version, but we just want to show you the 3 generations of racing. You would take a look at pictures and you would see dealerships' names very prominent on people's doors.
Yep.
You know, from what we're seeing now, Varsity's the only game in town.
Yeah.
You
Like
know?
I said, he you know, and he believes in that. You know, race on Sunday, sell on Monday, and you know, he always has, and he likes helping the local racers out, especially with the, you know, the Ford Mustangs and, you know, the Ford cars, and he's helped a lot of people out, you know.
So if you have an old Fox body with a V6, go see Sanford. Or, you know,
No. He's probably going to
he's
kill
lining
me for
up
saying
cash.
this,
Here
you
you
know?
go. It's phenomenal. I mean, we would love to talk to the gentleman, only because there is factories and dealerships and everything have pulled back from that idea.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it used to be kind of a NASCAR-y kind of thing until people got hip to it, where it's like, in NASCAR, and we were talking with Al Bergler, and it's like even funny car now, it's like, it's a blob body, you're a Chrysler, you're a Camaro.
Well, he's actually retired from the business now, from Varsity, so he's kind of on the sideline, and I think the budget's coming out of his own pocket, you know what I mean? So he's... Like
So you want to get in at his Christmas party quick.
No, he's just a great guy and a good friend, you know, and he wants to. He heard about this FX class, and he says, "Man, he goes, that's kind of remind me of back when the, you know, FX back in the day, you know, started with the Ford versus a Chrysler versus a Chevy." And he says, "I'd like to be part of that," and so here we are.
Well, you see Varsity. I mean, they sponsor, you know, boards at drag strips.
Yep.
You see them all over the place. You see this car that we have up on the wall here. There's a couple other Mustangs that we've seen.
Yep.
You know, with the Varsity name on it. I mean, the beautiful thing is he gets it.
Yes, he does.
You know, to the point where you can't have a billboard any bigger than this. Now, people are probably thinking, if you see Varsity on the side, that whole car is free. All the engine stuff's free.
Right,
everything's free.
right.
They
No.
just went to the showroom and
No,
went,
that's not the case.
that one over there, bring it up, boys. You know? I mean, obviously, it's if you have a whole door, he's not paying you 35 cents.
Right.
You know? But I mean, the whole point that he gets it, and for drag racing, and especially locally, because we're talking about like Grant Spalding Dodge, you know, and all of the dealerships back in the day, you know, that would sponsor it. And then you would have dealership versus dealership.
Yep.
And again, and it's like you were talking about just a few seconds before, about here's the Ford dealership going up against the Chrysler dealership.
Correct.
And boy, everybody rose to their feet and let's see this happen.
Yep.
You know, and now, for some God reason, dealerships won't touch this.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It is, only because you think that Chrysler and Dodge has gone so far and made all these drag packs and all this other kind of stuff specifically because somehow, some way, they got to sell you a car that they designed in 06.
Right,
and they keep going out with it. You know, and so if they're doing this and they're helping you, let's go into the Factory FX that the gentleman saw. You know, your Factory FX. Now, Factory FX, Factory Experimental, back in the day. And that's where it came from. And then it went over to a lot of different things. I mean, it went in almost to an altered wheelbase, to funny car, to this, to that, to the
Yep.
other. So now Factory FX now, because you're running NHRA this year, aren't you?
Correct.
I mean, this is the first time you've done a NHRA season in God knows how long.
Yeah, it's been a few years, you know. We used to run over there, and they penalized us so much because we kept going too fast, and they would slap us on the hand and penalize us and try to slow us down. So we just got tired of spending the money and doing that. So we kind of.
What year was this?
Oh.
What decade was this?
Well,
Make it easier?
No, it was. It's actually not too long ago. Probably 3-4 years ago. And
oh no, it's not one of those things where Ford, you're going too fast. Subsequently, Chevrolet, come right here.
Right.
Do you want to run nitrous here?
Yeah. So we kind of backed away from it for a while, and then the FX class come out, and I'm like, well, let's go back because this class sounds pretty neat, And
so tell us about the class.
Well, it's basically like the factory showdown cars. You have to use the same engine, so it's going to be the Coyote versus the LS versus the drag pack, and it's going to be steel roof and quarters.
Steel roof and quarters.
Steel roof and quarters, and then the rest of the car, like the carbon work, has to be acceptable from NHRA. So it's got to look just like a factory nose. The doors got to be identical to a factory, but they can be carbon. So basically, it's going to be a pro stock style car with steel roof and quarters like it used to be back in the day.
Yeah.
So the body lines are going to be stock.
I can tell what car you have.
Yes.
I can tell what year you have.
Exactly.
It doesn't look like a two-dimensional little sticker that says
Right.
Camaro on it.
Correct. So it's going to look like the actual factory car from the dealership, and it's got to be the same engine as we're running in the showdown. So you run that engine, like the Coyote, we run a Whipple, and then they're going to run the Liberty 5-speed with a 8-inch triple disc clutch.
Really?
Yeah. So it's going to be pretty cool.
You notice, fans, that Chris's face smiled when he said that.
Yeah.
I mean, no just running a slush box for you, right?
No.
Here's that third pedal. All you have to do, Chris, is say, yeah, and you're running 1320 and you will win the big money here. To go back, I mean, did you ever make that transition? I mean, automatic to 5-speed to,
Well, back in the day when we ran Mountain Motor Pro Stock, that was a Lenco, so it was a stick, it was a clutch, but it was with a Lenco trans,
It's funny talking to some of the legends and the classic drag racers, who believe in the Ronnie Socks. This way, push to 3 and then slam 4. And when Lencos came out, it was like, oh, that's cheating. And now you say Lenco, and everyone's like, oh, yeah. I mean, to get that real dreamy voice. I remember those sticks pulling, and it was like, yeah. I mean, that had to be fun to do a Lenco.
It was a blast, especially going, 660s, 670s and a quarter at 210, I mean, and you're pulling sticks, going down. It's actually a blast.
And I get everything goes on and technology goes on, but could anybody make a Lenco in 2023 and really let's bring the technology up to it, or is that a Lenco's a Lenco and that's as far as you can do?
I don't know, because they were actually pretty good. They were strong transmission.
Yeah, they were.
They were very strong, and for a clutch type trans, they're very fast. I mean they're still guys. I think in Mountain Motor Pro Stock, you have your choice between the Liberty and the Lenco, and I don't quote me on this, but I think there's still a couple guys that run the Lenco. I'm not sure, but I know. I think John AccuFab, John bought Lenco out, so he still makes a Lenco transmission today.
John AccuFab?
Yeah, John.
That's a name? Wow! Forget about Dell.
No, AccuFab is his company,
kidding.
but I can't remember his last name.
Could you sit back if somebody said, "Look, Chris, we have a car here with a Lenco. You want to take a waltz? Would you?"
Oh yeah.
Here, think about it first, won't you? Wow, that was quick.
I used to love racing the Lenco. I mean, pulling them rods back. It was just great.
How fast? I mean, by the time you got to the fourth rod, and we be careful how we say that. I mean, you're how far down the track?
Oh, probably right about I'm going back now, but probably right about the 8th mile.
And then come on 5.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a funny story. In 1995, my dad and I really had pretty much our first professional built car built, and it was by Tim McCamus. And it was a 95 Mustang, and it was a top sportsman car. Well, we were doing it with a Liberty with a air clutch.
Air clutch.
With a delay box. So you want to talk about something cool. You hit the trans brake button, and it holds the clutch in, and then you let go of the button, and then the delay box comes down, and then the clutch comes out automatically. Well, then at Top Sportsman, we built a 638 big block Ford with 2 stages of nitrous. So then the first stage would come on automatically when it left. When the air assist clutch came off, it would leave, and then I had second stage on the steering wheel. And so we would leave, and then if it was straight and good, we'd hit second stage and then pull the levers, and that was a blast. But when we've had that car built in 95, I remember this today. We drove all night and went to Tim McCamus' shop, and I'm looking up in the window because we got there late at night, and I'm looking in the window. I'm like, oh, there it is, and so he finally gets up in the morning, lets us in, and I run over to the car and I sit in the driver's seat, and he comes around the passenger side, and he's looking, and I says, okay, this is really cool. I go, which
one's ours?
Which one do I pull back first? Which lever? Because this is 95. I've never drove a Lenco then. And he starts laughing, and I'm like, I'm serious. He goes, you're serious?
You just bought this car.
Yeah. So he says, well, you start with this one here. So we picked up the car. We went back to my dad's shop, and I test drove it around the parking lot a few times and everything. And we went testing one time. Well, then we were going to 1995 World Nationals in Norwalk, IHRA.
Wow.
Running Top Sportsman. So it's our first race, first time ever racing the Lenco. Well, we get up there, and McCamus says, well, just let the clutch out and go through first gear and lift. So I let the clutch out, and it goes hard left. So he comes back and he makes an adjustment, and we go out, and my dad says, well, if it's going straight, go ahead and hit that second stage. And I'm like,
while you're here.
I haven't even been down the track yet, Dad, but okay.
Sure, you go, son. I'll watch you.
So I let the clutch out, and it's going straight, and I couldn't get on that second stage fast enough, So I'm rolling through there, and we get down top end, and it's hitting a rev limiter. So I let off the second stage, and it goes off the rev limiter. I hit it again, and it goes on the rev limiter again. So I'm going through the top end, and the thing goes like 715, back in the day at like 198
wow.
or 197 or something like that. And so my dad comes down and he goes, what was that? And I said, it was hitting a rev limiter. And he's like, oh, well, we can't use that second stage. I said, no.
No, it's bad. No, yeah.
And he says, well, don't you change that rev limiter chip. Back in the day, we had the MSD chips, And I said, okay. So I went down to a friend's place in the pit area, John Jenick, and I said, hey, do you have I think it was like a 9200 chip or something like that. He goes, yeah, I think I got one. He goes, that's too high. I never used something that high. And I said, can I borrow it? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. So I put it in there without my dad knowing, So he's like, well, again, he goes, maybe just hit the second stage, down at, maybe.
Yeah, oh, sure, yeah. I'll help you, son.
So I let go of the clutch and hit the button. It goes 699 at like 202 or something like that. So at the time, we were the fastest Ford ever.
Ever.
And at that time.
Yeah.
We actually beat out Animal Jim Fuhrer at the time. He was the fastest before that. So we fastest Ford. We got in the quick 8, and I think we went to the finals in the quick 8. Well, then we ended up winning the whole event, top sportsman event, our first race ever. We got best engineered and we won the race. It was just Cinderella's story, you know.
And now you get to tell your dad, you know, I borrowed a chip.
Oh, he come up and after that run, he's got tears in his eyes. He's like, you changed that chip, didn't you? It was pretty funny.
Thanks. How is, I mean, when was the last time you talked to Tim?
Actually, when we were going to build this FX car, I kind of called all the chassis builders and
Kinda.
well, I did call pretty much a lot of them.
Yeah, I was gonna
and
say.
I talked to him then, and he's like, Chris, that's not what we do anymore. We kind of mostly sell parts, and you know, we
Do
don't
videos.
Yeah, and so that's the last time I talked to him. But he was a good guy. Tim was a good guy, and he built a good car.
Yeah, I mean, you see his videos of the videos that he shot, you know.
Yeah.
Amazing. Talk about a guy with opinions.
What's funny is back in the day, he was the most quiet and non-talkative guy.
What?
Yeah, and he was always like, "Oh, don't say that," to his wife. You don't want people talking about you. And then you watch these videos today, it's like totally different, you know.
He's got a video of folks with delay boxes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. We play it at CK all the time because he talks about, how you drive. There, I'm done. That's not driving. And then he goes way off, and it's like, we got to talk to this guy. I mean, he's hilarious, and he doesn't look like you're right. He doesn't take any quarter.
No.
It's like, this is how I think, and this is where we go, and there it is. Because he's out on the East Coast, isn't he?
He's in Missouri, yeah.
Yeah. That East Coast.
Yeah,
Go
Missouri.
that way, yeah. You go to
Most
Carolina
of the
and then go over
guys are
there.
in Missouri, you know.
All right, so now you got to play with the FX friends.
Yep.
All right, how many folks are campaigning around with you? I mean,
Well, there was only one car that was finished so far, and that was Jeff Turk's. And unfortunately, he went out testing it for the first time, and he crashed it the first time. So he's
it's a hell of a test.
Yeah, it was just an unfortunate thing, but I feel bad for the guy. But anyways, he's getting it fixed. So there's really not a car finished yet. They're all being built. And I hear Greg Stanfield's is in the paint shop. Hopefully we'll go get ours in about a week and then take it to paint.
You got nobody to race.
So right now there's really not a car ready. But in the first official race is supposed to be end of June at Norwalk.
So you're the automatic winner. If you can get that thing out of the paint booth.
If I can get my car done, but I think there'll be 2 or maybe 3 at Norwalk.
But all right, so NHRA announced this. They didn't just announce it last week.
No, well, over the winter.
Yeah, okay. And so it took this long for anybody to say, look, maybe this is a cool class?
Well, the problem is seeing that the front ends and the doors and everything's got to be just like a production car.
Yeah.
Nobody made carbon front ends or doors that was identical to a production car. They're all stretched or lowered. So then you got to have someone make your front end, make the doors, and then it's a new class. So then you're starting to put the car together and you're molding this front end and doors to the steel roof and quarters, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, because NHRA gives you templates. Well, we want it like this. Well, this ain't going to work. So then you got to call NHRA, and then you got to start moving things, and so it's a big, long process to get the first cars built. So once now they have a Dodge, a Chevy, and a Ford, and everything's worked out, then it's going to be a lot easier to build the cars.
But you are a pioneer of this class. I mean, conceivably, you could have the gentleman who crashed, you're like, what, a couple of weeks away from getting yours?
Well, but we still got to paint.
Things.
Still got to paint it and wire it though. So it's going to
How hard can it be to wire a car?
It's going to be tight making Norwalk. I mean, it really will.
And that's in a month or so?
About a month.
So you could be the first to the line and go home with the cash and the trophy. Nobody else is around me. Bye. Thank you. You guys keep testing. Because you really think about it. I mean, here's NHRA worldwide has one car.
Right.
And
You know, they really should. I think they should move it and give people more time to get the cars built. You know, change the official race, you know, move it back towards maybe the end of the year, you know, before, you know, because what's going to happen is everybody's going to rush to get their cars done and no testing, and it might happen just like Turk, you know, go out there and crash a brand new car because there's no testing involved, you know. I think it's just getting rushed, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if they announced it almost like PRI, right? I mean, around that time frame?
Yeah, before PRI, just before PRI, yeah.
All right, but still, if you go to the holidays and they announced it, to do something that's never been done before, and you got 5 months, you know, and to knock on the doors of people who make carbon fiber, and they're just not down the street at Costco.
Exactly.
You know, and go, hey, do you guys happen to have an exact duplicate carbon fiber? You know, we're not talking people doing fiberglass.
No.
This is the real knock-on.
And then here's the other problem is you have Ford coming out with the 2024 Mustang. So then, you know, you're in the middle of building this. It's like, do you want to build a car that's going to be outdated in 6 months, because eventually they're going to come out with the 2024. So here you're coming out with a 16 or a 19. It's going to be outdated when they release the 2024. So, you know, but we made the decision, let's just go with it and get a car built, and then we'll worry about the 2024 stuff later. We're hoping that maybe we can adapt the roof and quarters to the same chassis. I don't know, but we want to get a car done, so we're thrashing and trying to get a car finished. So
isn't there some way where you can knock on the door at Dearborn and say, hey, look, folks, we're putting in a little bit of coin in this thing, and we're not talking 25 cents. You know, can we get a little bit of something here?
I wish it was that easy.
It can't be that hard. They have a door. They answer it. Hello, Chris. Come on in, you crazy guy, you.
Yeah. Maybe if we were, you know, what are they into now? IndyCar or whatever. You know what I mean? But
how is Ford with that, with drag racing and you guys?
well, it used to be, you know, a few years ago it was pretty strong, but it's over the last couple of years it's just kind of.
Why?
I don't know. I think this whole electric vehicle thing has really thrown them off, because they're putting all their focus towards that electric Mustang, or, you know, Cobra
1800?
You know,
Yeah. What you think for the people are going to be watching us in like 2075? Yep, they're going to come out with this electric car,
Right.
You know, and it's like 1800 horsepower. Yeah. Well, Grandpa, you know, can you hit the gas or hit the electric? I guess, you know. But still, I mean, it's not like the internal engine's going to go, oh, look, it's 2024. That's it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
But can't they help you like on body stuff and stuff? Pardon me.
They could.
Is this your SOS to Dearborn? I mean, because what would you ask them to help you out with?
Well, I mean, at the time, you know, like when they announced that 2024 at, what was that, Woodward, right? When did they announce the 2024?
Yeah, it's somewhere.
Anyways, when they announced 2024, they had like a video up, and it had kind of a fake 2024, you know, like doing a burnout as a Factory X car. And I'm like, looking at that, so I'm on the phone, well, what the heck is this? You know?
We could buy one, honey.
You know,
we don't have to build it.
So they said, well, no, that was video enhanced, you know, they made it look like. So I'm like, okay, so when can we get a body, you know? And it just, they still don't have any, you know, they're not releasing the quarters or the front end or nothing like that. So that's when we decided, you know what, we'll be way far behind if we wait on that. So that's when we decided to do an older year.
I mean, how is that put you in a competitive disadvantage?
No. Because, I mean, you look at the Copos and the drag packs, they're not going to make them at all anymore. So they're going to be running older cars.
Or so Dodge says.
Right, exactly.
You know, I mean, tell all those people that had the Wagoneers that go, these are limited edition. Once they're gone, they're gone. You know, Then all of a sudden they go, that's crazy. We found 5,000 in the back room. You know.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think all of a sudden, I mean, it's nice to say that, but you see how much, like the Challenger 170s are going for. How much, you know? Because people are paying mad money to get them, and it's like, I got a funny feeling. If someone is paying way over sticker, like, you know, double from what we heard, yeah. You know, it's like Chrysler isn't going to find some in the basement. Oh, where did these Challengers come from? It's crazy. You know, so it's amazing that they would, because I know that Ford just announced that they're breaking off into 3 different, the electric side, the blue side, the gas internal, and then the Pro side. You know, so you would think that somehow, some way, the Mustang will still have some kind of internal combustion engine 2024.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have a Coyote in them, you know, so I don't know.
So why don't they knock on your door, Chris? I mean, why don't they say, look, you're the undisputed king, as far as we know, of the Coyote engine. I mean, it's synonymous between the two, you two. You know, so why don't they say, hey, look, you're doing so well for us. I mean, you're keeping the Ford name in a higher echelon. What can we do for you?
Yeah, I can't answer that. I don't know.
I'm so ready to go to Dearborn tonight. You know, we have a list of demands here, boys. Because but I know how weird of a job it is, a little bit, because when Brian Wolf held the job of all racing for Ford, for everything, for, you know, F1 and drag racing and off and all that crazy stuff, you would think, what a plum job.
Right.
Oh, what a great job. You know, it's like, hello, you need an intake right away. Hello, you need some sprinter parts right away. You know, I'm going to go to, you know, Monte Carlo, go see a couple Fords running around. And I guess it's really, the job was just crazy.
Right. Well, that's, you know, and I love Brian Wolf to death. He's a good friend of mine, and God bless him. He's the one that, you know, I was running my business. I wasn't racing at the time, and we do all the warranty work for Ford Performance on their crate engines. So if a customer has a problem, it comes here. We disassemble it, and the Ford engineer comes in, looks at it, and decides if it was customer's fault or, you know, if it's a warranty.
10 grand whole shot. I don't know. Is there under warranty here?
So Brian was, you know, the director or whatever then.
Yeah.
And they were coming out with Cobra jets. And he says, well, we want to do a 352 pushrod engine, which is like a 302 style engine, a 428, which is like a 351. And he goes, I want you to design the engine and do the first couple of them. And then we're going to build a couple cars.
Okay, Brian, here's my checkbook. You put in the signature, I'll put in the numbers.
Right. So that got me started in that, so that was really great. So then, on top of that, the 352 car, there was one built, and it was the silver one up here. And Brian come to me, and he says, how would you like to campaign one of these Cobra jets? And I'm like,
did you tell him, no, I'm sorry, I'd rather do this?
I would love to, you know. So that's what got me in the Cobra jets and racing factory showdown and all that is I dedicated mostly Brian Wolf, you know. So it was pretty cool.
See how that works out? Only here at ALL4GEARS do you get that story. Because nobody knew that. I know Brian. I've never heard that story before. Oh, yeah. Nice going. So now, if in his retirement he could only throw you another bone, here's a couple bodies. Because you could imagine, I mean, really, that had to be it. It was a unique job, but think of how many pals all of a sudden you got.
Yeah,
I
can imagine.
I mean, because it's like, people may have misunderstood what that job entailed, like thinking that it's like, you know, can we get some fresh engines? Here you go.
Right.
You know.
But that's what he did, though, is he was smart. He knew that people, the local guys that did good jobs on what they did, you know, as far as building small block Fords or, you know, doing this or doing that. And, you know, like Team Z doing the chassis and, he, you know, Roush and, you know, I mean, he used the local people and fed them and got that Cobra jet to where it is today, you know, and it just, I think, you know, kudos to Brian, you know.
It's amazing how the factory out Ford kept upping the game.
Yep.
You know, especially with the Mustang. But I mean, how did that affect you? I mean, for folks who don't know, the Coyote engine's been around since.
Oh shit! You put me on the spot here.
I guess I'm only the king at Coyote. I don't know when it came out.
Hey Steve, what was the answer there? 2011.
I was going to say 2011, but yeah, okay. All right, so I mean, and again, the engine that's synonymous with you, as with Brian, it's the Godzilla, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you've seen Ford. I mean, do you look at it? Do they let you know it's like, hey, look, Brian, Chris, coming up, we're going to have next year. We're going to add supercharger. Next year, we're going to add bigger heads. Next year, we're going to, you know, do you just like read about it and go, oh wow, okay, that's what they're doing?
Well, back a few years ago, when Ford was really kind of in with NHRA and pushing the Cobra jets, yes, I had a lot of say about, you know, okay, this is what I think we need to do is, you know, these heads, you know, these cams, you know, and this and that, and so at least, not that they listened to everything I said, but at least they listened.
Why not?
And I knew what was going on and you know what was coming, but anymore it's just, you know, it's like they're not involved with drag racing anymore. You know, it's kind of weird.
So then you're on your own?
Pretty much.
Look, Ford. Look, I mean, really, you have an incredible asset right here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that you're not going into drag racing. Drag racing is still doing, it hit a hell of a lull.
Well, I think the biggest thing is the guys that are at Ford Performance anymore, they're just worrying about keeping their jobs. You know, I mean, because everybody gets canned because they want to push this electric vehicle bullshit. Sorry, but I think that's most of it. Is they're just worried about losing their jobs because they don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but if you build it, they will buy. You know, I mean, if you build I mean, look at how many people are going, and again, we do a lot of the Mopar thing, but how many people have bought the drag pack Challengers, and they're not cheap.
No.
You know, but they keep upping the game to crazy horsepower.
Yep.
You know, with warranty.
Right.
You know, and it's like somehow, some way, Ford they became like Nintendo.
Yeah, they fell off the.
Yeah.
It's like not even looking at the drag racing or the, you know.
Right. And yet there's still a lot of people. I mean, Chris, you've seen it more than anybody. I mean, drag racing was, you raced your first drag race when? What year?
Ooh.
Okay, I'll ask you when the Coyote came out.
No, probably 1980.
All right, so 79, 80, and here comes, drag racing is fickle. It kind of goes in like these waves, but 79, 80, there was that little spurge, you know, where it was immensely popular again.
Yep.
You know, I mean, of course, you take a look at the stuff from the early 60s, late 50s, you can't get a seat in these stands.
Right.
And there's cars that are going all the way back as far as you can go.
Well, I remember running the high school nationals back then, and I mean, there were so many kids and so many cars, you had to wait hours in the staging lanes to make a run, you know, because there was so many kids involved in drag racing.
Okay, this should be kind of fun. Carl's son is in the high school nationals. Mm-hmm. And everyone's going, we don't have a chance. I mean, did Pop like help you? There you go, kid, go.
Well, he was out there helping me, you know. I mean, we ran the Galaxy actually, you know. And
you got to get that thing back. I mean, everything keeps coming back to that 63.
Yeah.
You know. But I mean, if your dad's helping you, you know, and all the other kids go, well, how the hell can we win? Except for we're driving Mopar, but how can this help out?
But it was still a bracket race, so I mean, you still had to be on the tree and you still had to be consistent, you know. So. But
then again, here comes the Mickey Mantle's kid thing. I mean, is your dad watching you, and it's like you better hit it at that last yellow?
Oh yeah,
you know?
Oh yeah, he helped quite a bit. I mean, that's how you learn, you know.
Yeah, but was he sitting at top end, like tapping the toe, going, you kind of were a little slow on that light?
No, he was a good teacher, you know. I mean, I think we actually ended up winning one year at the high school.
Huh, funny how that worked out.
But just like, you know, Dell listens to me today, you know. It's
yeah, but I mean,
most of the time.
Did Carl just give you the keys and say, here, son, Take the
no.
428 out.
No. We actually, he had me involved in building the engine and building the whole car, and then we went to high school nationals.
Well, we should probably tell folks who don't know, that engine, that car, obviously the Galaxy, which isn't a light car.
No, it weighed like 3,900 pounds. You know, it was
Without interior.
yeah, it was a big car.
All right, and then so you built a, what to go in it?
428.
Funny how that worked out.
Yep, single 4-barrel with a
And
C6 trans, and thing went, when I first started, it was like low 12s, like 12, 16, 12, 15.
and that was your first, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Your first love.
Yep.
How did you let this thing go? I mean, it's,
I had to buy a house.
who wants a house?
Well, at that time I did.
I mean, this thing was big enough, right? It was just you and Holly, right?
Right.
Plenty of room.
Yeah.
Look at that trunk space. I mean, you could fit like a big screen TV in that thing alone and plop that thing up. God, of all these, you really look at your life to the point where, look at all the things you had that you had to sell to get to the things you got.
Yep.
You know, I mean, hats off. I mean, man to man, how the hell do you break that at the dinner table? Gee, honey. Yeah, take it.
Well, I mean, I created a monster with her because, you know, there's been times it's been rough, and it's like, you know what, I'm just going to get out of racing because it just you get frustrated, you know?
Yeah.
And she's right there. No, you're not. You're getting your ass out there. It's
We
like,
still owe this.
Right.
You are going to keep going.
yeah, that's what keeps business coming in, so get out there and race. So, but,
I mean, do you find that? Do you find that with the Holbrook stuff? That it's folks that I saw you at the drag strip, or I saw your sticker, I saw somebody had your engine. Can you do mine? I mean, is that so
sure.
cool?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yep.
So it actually works to put stickers in whatever sponsorship that is, if you just give away
Yeah.
the sticker or whatever.
If they see myself or Dell out there running and campaigning, it does. You know, still today I get phone calls. Hey, I seen Dell out there running, da da da, and so it does help.
Well, Dell had a hell of a weekend, a couple of weekends ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, last weekend, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we saw this stuff on Facebook. Now, again, 50 years from now, it's like, oh, Facebook, remember that?
What's that?
Well, it's like saying, we got this 19-inch black and white tube TV. Wow. You know, I mean, but you saw that. He really was like top 3.
Yeah,
Wasn't he?
Yeah, it was a good event. We
Says the proud dad.
well, everything we've been kind of starting this year. This was new to us with him driving in his car and running the showdown in NHRA, and on top of that, the new thing was this year was a rev limiter, and I'm not used to rev limiters. I rev the crap out of my stuff. The Coyotes, they like to spin, so I spin them.
You leave the line at what?
Well, we have to foot brake it, so we don't.
Okay.
So we can't leave too high, but I used to shift at 10.6 and go through the lights at 10.8. Well, now they put a rev limiter at 10.2, and it's amazing just that little bit. Yeah. So now you got to get he's got to shift it without hitting the rev limiter, and it's got to go through the traps without hitting the rev limiter. So getting that all worked out, it takes a few runs, and with him working, we don't get to go testing, so we go to the race, and that's our test session. So I knew going into this race that I felt we were pretty good. As long as we get that first run down and it looks good, we can tune from there. And it was a good weekend. We could have won that thing, but I was a little too soft because I was worried about the track temp being too hot and spinning the tires. And I think we could have gave it a little bit more and got around Mark Powick, but live and learn. But we could have spun the tires too. So either way,
So you're going to see this guy again?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, anytime soon?
Well, next race is in Bristol in 2 weeks, so we'll see him there.
Here comes the travel.
Yeah.
Here comes the motorhome hours.
Yeah.
At night.
Yeah.
On Tennessee
Yes.
hills at midnight.
Yep, and putting the fuel in that big thing.
140 gallons, 150 gallons. I mean, how long does it take you to fill that thing up?
it takes a while. I mean, I don't know, probably half hour. So it seems like a half hour. It's probably not that long, but it's a long time, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's a 20-gallon tank.
Because you go to some of these pilots or, the truck stops, you can't run it full blast like they do because, it's a small entry and it overflows,
Yeah.
So you got to kind of nurse it in there.
But I mean, you got the motor home, the stacker, I would assume.
Yep.
And then whatever the little mother-in-law trailer behind it, and then the boat. God bless you.
Right,
You want to make sure that you put all these things all together.
Right.
I mean, here comes that. I mean, who drives that home? You?
Well, between myself and I have some friends that are really helpful. Like a couple of them are retired and they just go with us to help us, and they do things to help us out.
God love boomers.
Oh, I love them. I love Tom and
You can say their
Larry.
names. It's okay.
Tom Klein and Larry Zim, and then I got a good friend, Mike Zalay. It's hard to say his
Nice
last
job.
name. And he paints all my cars, and he goes with us and helps us out. So we have enough drivers. So if you get tired, somebody else gets in there.
Yeah, but it's not like you're driving an F-150.
Oh no, it's.
I mean, this is a total different ballgame. If you never drove something of this magnitude,
Yeah.
sometimes that wind, and sometimes, these things, they look easy to drive, but they're a handful.
So when I get tired and I put somebody else in there, it's hard for me to sleep because I'm watching how they're driving, They do a good job, but it's just, that's me,
Can you give up the driver's seat?
You mean in racing?
No. I mean, when you're going from here to there.
Oh, yeah.
You can.
Oh, yeah.
When do you know?
I get so tired, especially I get so tired, I have to, because otherwise we won't make it there,
I mean,
because we work all day, I work pretty much, we're almost like the last people in our class at the track because they get there 1 or 2 days early to set up and everything. Well, because Dell works and I run a business, we don't, like if the race is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we don't leave until Thursday morning. And then we get in there and then we got to set up and then race. So it's takes some time.
Dell get an excuse note? Please excuse Dell from...
Well, he's got to keep his job and he's got to make money,
Yeah, but look, you're limited. Can't you negotiate? Say, look, I got you this guy right at your doorstep. He shows up Monday through Friday. He's a good kid. Or you can go try to find some help.
Yeah. But
so here's how we're going to work
he's got
this.
a business to run, though.
Yeah, but he doesn't have it running on Friday and Saturday, right? I mean, Dell's got to get out. I mean, Dell doing good helps him too, right?
Yeah.
Look, home of the champion. Look who we have working with us. I mean, open up the mind here. This is good for you. I mean, really, that's a lot. So you're almost here. How do you feel on Monday? I mean, are you dragging it?
Oh, yeah. But I'm here.
Yeah, so if you bring in your blocks to Holbrook, make sure it's Tuesday to Thursday.
Yes, I mean, Joliet wasn't too bad because that was only a 4-hour ride. So we got back Sunday at 9:30 at night, and I was back in here at 6:30 in the morning. And
here we go again.
Here we go.
I mean, can you separate that? I mean, because we were talking off camera there, and the place up north that you have. Mm-hmm. Can you stop?
No.
No. True owner of their own business.
No, not at all.
Yeah, because there is some folks, even if you're up there, can she tell? Can she tell that your mind's back here?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I drink Crown Royal. That makes me forget.
I noticed there was a box. I thought we were sponsored by them. I thought, oh, great, Crown Royal is sponsoring drag cars now, and that is kind of amazing. I mean, that you can't shut it off. Yeah, I mean, how long has this been going on?
Oh, years. And that's just how my mind works is, and it's not just business. It's like, okay, how do I make Dell go faster? How do I make the car react faster? I mean, it's just it's everything, So it's difficult.
Did your dad have that?
Oh yeah, and that's why I kind of try to go home and have a family life, because my dad, he was at that shop 24 hours a day, and it hurt his and my mom's marriage. They were divorced for some years, and it was just wasn't good, and I didn't want to go through that,
So you brought her here.
So I try to separate it, I mean, we try not to talk about work at home.
How do you not?
It's tough.
Yeah, because I was going to say the whole basis of your home is the paycheck from here.
Right. And
So
there's times I tell her, I don't want to talk about that right now.
Palm
we'll
up
talk
to the
about
face.
it in the morning,
Ooh,
Well, she
you
does
get
it to
away
me,
with that?
too.
Oh, I was going to say, did you like pull the fingers down and go, look, bud,
But no, I mean, you have to at times. You just got to, leave work at work, and that's it.
Yeah, but you're not thinking of that block you got to do,
Well,
or
I
you
am,
have
but
this.
We can't discuss it because if I keep it in here, that's one thing. But if you're talking about it, and I don't know, it's just not the same. You're not talking about family and your life at the time. So I don't know. I try not to talk about work. I think about it, but I try not to talk about it at home.
But she's here, and doesn't she say, hey, look, Bob called up and wants a new block? Or does she go...
We'll do a little bit of that, but that's about it.
Do you have like a 15-minute...
Because we try to handle that here.
And then once you break the plane of whatever, 96 or whatever the hell that is out there, that mess.
Yeah.
Again, now 50 years from now, it'll be like,
What's
freeway.
96?
Oh, remember when people were actually on cars?
I'm George Jetson.
And then what will Dell be working on?
Right.
Thank God he's doing CNC stuff. It's got to be hard. I mean, especially for, not only does she go to the races?
She went to Joliet with us. She doesn't go to all of them because she usually stays back and helps run the business. And so she won't go to the far away ones normally because it's just too much time away from the shop.
Did you ever ask her? It's like, honey, would you like to fill in for a week, and a week turned out to be decades? Or did she go, look, why don't I help you out? You do your thing, I can do this.
No, she decides to do that. I mean, she enjoys it.
Since day one, she's been...
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow, that was an easy sell.
Yeah.
But then again, since she does the books, this is how much money I make.
Like I said, she's frugal, so.
And that's why they have all brand new appliances today. It's got everything that you saw now at Joliet, because that just reopened.
Yeah.
How does that look to you for folks who haven't been there?
Well, a very nice facility. I mean, very nice. And it's weird that you have that kind of facility and it's only basically used once a year. I don't even think they race NASCAR there anymore. And it's just a very nice facility. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of strange too, because we're looking at tracks. Some are staying, few are opening, lots are going away.
Yeah.
And they all have that really weird, as we speak now, that noise ordinance thing where this drag strip's been there since 1951, and all of a sudden they decide to build condos nearby it, and they go, it's loud here.
Right.
It's like, what part didn't you see dragway here
Exactly.
forever? I mean, the drag strip that you love going to.
I always like Norwalk.
Really?
Yeah.
Because the nice flowers in front.
Well, I won my first national event there.
You always remember your first.
And the Bader family was always, I knew Senior. He was the greatest. I mean, he respected the racer and his customers, and it's a very nice facility. You never have to worry about track prep, and you get an ice cream for $1.
And everybody thought that was a mid-Michigan thing.
Right.
That because here's how a little secret of how to get fans to drag strips. Have ice cream cheap, have flushing toilets at work.
Right.
I mean, no women will go to porta potties, none, just a tip. But
especially back in the day when you didn't have all the motor homes and
true too. Oh yeah, that's like, see the door with the moon on it. Go, honey, we'll see you back.
Right.
And if you can't get the wife, the girlfriend, whatever, to go, they won't go. You have a hard time going. The whole thing falls down.
Yep.
Because now, it had to be a thrill for NHRA to look at you and go, you're racing it with us? Great. I mean, did they give you any kind of pat on the back, any kind of sponsorship money?
No. Well, I mean, they got the Fuelers and, John Force and all them guys. I'm nobody, But
we're with Chris Holbrook on All Four Gears, and you're nobody. All right, let's take down all these lights and the cameras.
They are excited about us building a Factory X car, and they are happy that Dell's running the showdown, so I will say that. Because
it seems like there would be, how involved is, because we heard a lot of conflicting stories with how NHRA interacts with, we've heard that it's like, if you're there, if you're running 3-second car, 2-second car, they're there. Anything else?
I don't know. They have a lot going on at the races, and they're trying to put on a show. And but usually they take care of the racers. I think they do. I know there's a lot of the sportsman guys, like some of the guys complaining that they don't take care of them, but I mean they got a lot going on, so they can't hold everybody by the hand.
So then how do you, I mean, the whole big picture used to be NHRA was for the guys who fly in and then fly out, and then IHRA at the time, now WDRA, whatever, is for sportsmen up to a certain class. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're kind of in between all that, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, they dedicate, they like the Fuelers and everything, but that's their show, and it takes a lot of money to run those cars, and they bring in big sponsors and they bring in a lot of people, so they have to pay more attention to them. It's kind of a no-brainer. If you think you can, you want more attention, then go run a Fueler or something. I don't know, but I mean, as long as they give you a good track prep, everything's safe, and they keep the rules, everybody within the rules, and you're having a fun time, what more can you ask for?
Will you ever go back to the WDRA/IHRA?
It depends on if, IHRA used to be really cool back when they had Mountain Motor Pro Stock and Pro Mod, and they don't have that.
What year are we talking?
Well, I won the championship in '99.
Notice how he slides that in there?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Proud of that.
Hey, you get all the accolades, man. Yeah.
And I think they quit running all that in, was it 2010 or something like that? Yeah, and they just quit running the pros. They were running just a sportsman, and not that's not cool and it's not fun, but it just, for fan wise, I mean, there's not a lot of people that go and watch the sportsman racers. I mean, they can see that locally at home,
Mm-hmm.
So iTray, like I said, when they ran, when Bader owned it back in the day, that was the best. I mean, because he would put on a show. They packed the cars in there, and the fans would show up, and I mean, it was good, quality fun,
How did that all fall apart?
I don't know. It's kind of weird. I think when Bader sold off IHRA and they started getting big companies in there, I think it was at, was it Feld Entertainment? I forget who bought them. But anyways, I think they just started, they thought they were going to run it like Monster Truck Show or something. You know what I mean? And it just,
which doesn't,
yeah, it's not the same. You
No.
can't do that. And I think it just, at that point, it just went down.
Yeah, because everybody was shocked when, we kind of heard it back last summer that there's a rumbling here with IHRA, with drivers, with sponsors, with everything, and now here comes a split.
Yep.
And who would ever have thought there would be enough room to split the two?
Right.
And now IHRA is from what we can see, is like a ghost of itself, in our opinion.
Yeah.
And then you got WDRA, which is kind of, folks are kind of going, and you are,
Right.
I mean, they're folks from the IHRA that decided to split off, but it's now for, especially in this being their first year, what are you?
Right. And because I think what Larry Jeffers bought IHRA, and I don't know what happened then, because that's when a lot of the people that worked for IHRA went to the, what is it, WDRA?
WDRA, yeah.
So I don't know what's going on there either.
But hey, on-track betting, so now WDRA is, the folks that we've talked to, it's like they figured out a way that they can bet online in the stands. So we could put a ton of money on Dell, and then get the payoff on our phones. It's unique how they're proposing how to do it. And because they're going, look, we need to get the fans back in the stands. Somehow, some way, sport betting is off the rails. I mean, we can't watch a Tiger game without, a ton of these commercials. Yeah. So they're thinking, how do we do this in drag racing? And so it's supposed to be like Dell going up against Bob. And they have all of Dell's last 5 races, his times, what he's running. And they have Bob. And then they both come up on your phone. And then you kind of put in the money on Dell. And if Dell wins, ching, in your pocket.
Huh.
And so somehow, some way, that's supposed to get fans in. How would you get fans back in the stands?
Ooh.
Put $20 on every seat.
I don't know. I mean, back in the day, and I know not everybody can do this, but when ADRL was around and they had free entry, you just had to pay for parking. They packed the places, and then they made their money on the parking and the food.
Concession.
Yep. I don't know how that worked. I mean, obviously, maybe it didn't work because they're not around anymore. But that was fun racing. I mean, because they just packed the people in there, and I don't know. Even today, I was kind of. At Joliet, there's a lot of open seats. There was a lot of people there, don't get me wrong.
It's a big place.
But there's a lot of open, like you said, there's a lot of seats to fill.
Yeah.
But I remember back in iTrade days, they would pack every seat. And
can you hear that? Can you see that?
Oh, yeah. When you pull around and you're going in the burnout box, and I mean, it just makes you feel so good when the place is just packed, And I think, I probably get shot here, but a lot of this, street outlaw stuff on TV, and I think a lot of that is kind of taken away from, watching drag racing at the track. I don't know. It's just weird because that's kind of, they're like trying to push the street environment, and it's not at a track.
Yeah, it's kind of like we say, drag racing is like music. There's all kinds of different kind of genres. And a couple of years ago, when it was really popular to pack the starting line with people, and the folks who grew up with drag racing went, right. You're letting all those, you realize something goes wrong?
Yep.
But now it's starting to come back a little bit to the point where even the folks that were on the shows, they're going, ever notice we're on this deserted street with all these 500 kilowatt lights
right.
and 5 video production things and all kinds of, but somehow, some way that spurred interest again in some kind of drag racing. You know? I mean, we'll take it, but now you're right. We listened to a lot of the stuff from the 60s, from the golden age, and they had, and we, try to tell track owners, free women night. You're right, for test and tune, let them come in once. Mm-hmm. Let them get a taste of it. Kids under 35 free.
Right.
Something. Yeah, because they don't do promotions as they used to, and I realize that it's having a drag strip is like razor thin margins at best.
I can imagine. Oh yeah.
But that's free money. For the people that come in, and you said, we all know how much a Coke costs at Meijer. We know how much a $4 Coke costs at the drag strip, or $3, or sometimes, my God, if you go down to some of the national events, it's almost like going to Tiger Stadium, for the $12 beers and stuff like that. Don't gouge.
Right.
I mean, because now you're going to see everybody bring the pops and everything in their car, and they'll never come back, But you're going to have like the nostalgia races and things, which was a question that was asked to us too. Your dad's cars are somewhere.
Well, I know his last car that he sold, his Cobra Jet car, Donnie Moore still owns it today. He's in North Carolina, and it's got the same paint on it for when he bought it from my dad, and it still looks pristine.
And your mountain motor car, say that quick.
Well, we had a few of those because we had a good sponsor at the time, but there's still a couple of them out there running. We actually had one of the first ZX2s, as a pro stock car.
Woo!
And that's actually running today in PDRA, and it's still painted the same and everything. So it's kind of cool seeing it. Yeah.
Because the thought was, is there any way? And the question we're supposed to ask you, and we will. I mean, since nostalgia races are huge now, humongous. I mean, you have like you were saying before, the outlaw races, the Pour Your Own Puddle folks. You have the nostalgia guys, which are humongous now. I mean, the Detroit Dragway reunion that they have at Milan packs them.
Yeah.
Is there any way that your dad's car, somebody would run your dad's car? You know where your dad's car is when you run it?
He had so many cars back in the day. And a lot of them you don't know if it's his car unless they come up and say, "Hey, this was your dad's car," because they're different paint or different, just totally different. So a lot of them you don't know. I think that's the main reason how I know Donnie Moore's, because I knew he bought it, and the paint is the same. It's identical. So I know that car, because it's painted the same.
Would you drive it once?
Oh, yeah, I would, sure.
Could you? I mean, 4-speed car, or is that a Lenco car?
No, it's automatic, I think, yeah.
It's an automatic, C6. Here we go.
Yeah.
And you would leave the line at...
Well...
I mean, it'd be somebody else's 428, right?
Yeah.
All right. So now we have all that stuff. And you used to talk about how you would have to take, your dad would take the whole family down to the drag strip, and who was changing tires, I mean, your dad gave you like the whole 9 yards about, here, son. I mean, when you went with him, your mom and sisters and everybody went down. I mean, that had to be, is it like taking everybody now? I mean, obviously you don't have a beautiful motorhome back in the 60s or whatever, but...
Well, I remember my mom always sitting in the pickup truck, just sitting there, reading a book or something like that.
Just sitting there?
Well, because, you're working on the car and stuff. But he always had me, especially before we went. I don't know if you ever put headers on a 68 Mustang with a 428 Cobra Jet.
Grease your fingers and get in?
Oh, my goodness. That was my job, to put those headers on. And
why?
Because he didn't want to do it.
What a good dad. Here, son, learn the hard way. For those who don't know, it wasn't like putting headers on a 6-cylinder in a Belvedere.
No,
I mean, it's not like you had plenty of room.
Tight, and there was 4 bolts per cylinder.
Yeah, and it was warm.
Yeah.
And then you had to like contort your body to get in there. It's not like Pop lifted the engine for you.
Right. No, it was a job, but.
But why are you putting on headers? I mean, shouldn't they already be on?
This was before the race. Getting the car ready. Before the race.
And here we go, and Mom's sitting in the truck. You're burning your fingers off. Yeah. Great. How long were you guys driving? I mean, you just didn't race in Michigan. I mean, you drove back with the truck and Mom and Dad and everybody a long...
Yep. I remember, I think we talked about this before, but my dad would not stop. And,
and women like to stop.
And you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Seeing your mom and your sister pee in a Maxwell House coffee can was not the good thing. He would not stop, and he says, "That's your bathroom, let's go."
How much time did you save? I mean, was your dad like all proud? Look, we made it in 6 minutes flat. There you go.
We gotta get to the track.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, did he have the game face on so much so that everybody was like, all right, everybody got your pillows, everybody got your can, let's get in, let's go. I mean, it's not like you guys had a 10-foot vehicle that you were in.
No, we were in a Ford truck, you know, and, you know, we were in the back seat, and it did have a sleeper on the back, so if you did get tired, you know, you kind of argue who gets the sleeper, you know, but other than that.
And then that was when drag racing was drag racing, and you had all those people, all the big names that you didn't know were big names.
Right, exactly.
I mean, your dad hung around with who?
Oh, well, back in when I knew it, I mean, there's a lot of names that Ray Bequette, I don't know if you know that name,
sure.
Thunderbolt. He was a good customer. We always went racing with him. Tom DeCamp, Jerry Rowe, and I remember having so much fun watching. At that time, they were older guys to me because I'm a kid, you know.
They were 30.
Yeah, and Ray Bequette using the bathtub in the hotel, cleaning his parts because he had to take a transmission apart or do this or do that. He's using the bathtub cleaning parts, and you know, and then afterwards, you know, running the mini bike down the hallway of the hotel, and I mean, it was just
running a mini bike down the you?
No, not me, Ray.
And Ray was a good influence in your life there?
Oh yeah, I thought it was cool.
And your dad and your mother didn't say, look, don't ever.
Well, my dad just laughed, you know, but my mom would just try to pull me away, you know.
Did your mom have like this thing like don't be like these guys?
Yeah.
But did she know? Fat chance?
Yeah,
okay.
She knew me.
I mean, it had to be tough. I mean, especially because we've heard all kinds of stories of people getting their cars in parking lots behind the Holiday Inn, swapping motors, swapping heads, dropping oil.
Well, I remember, you know, NHRA teardown because he ran super stock, and you had to pull heads off or, you know, rod and piston out, and a lot of times the teardown was in like a mall parking lot or you know, just
a mall parking lot.
Yeah, just
NHRA.
Yeah, yep. They would just, because they didn't have room at the track, they say, okay, you take and you go here and at this parking lot and start pulling apart, and they got officials set up, and I mean it was just different weird places that they would have it done at.
So somehow, some way, the NHRA goes up to Oakland Mall and say, I know a way that we can get people coming to your mall. We're going to bring these race cars to your parking lot.
Yep.
We're not going to tell you that we're going to put oil all over the place, and we're not going to tell you, you know, that it's...
Yeah, that happened many times. It's just they would use different parking lots or different areas of businesses to do teardown.
But did they give your dad a good shake, or did they go, hey, wait a minute, what's this?
Well, it was kind of weird back in the day.
Notice there's a smile coming up here.
They would really, the Fords would be major teardown, you know, and get really kind of, because this was a story coming from my dad now, because I was younger, you know. So,
why, sure, yeah.
You know, so they would always, you know, like, here's a Mopar over here. He's just pulling the carburetor off and having a look at it. Well, here he's pulling the pan off and pulling a rod and piston out and this and that and doing a total.
Why? Why sweat Ford?
Don't know.
What year was this? Had to be before 71.
Yeah, 70, 71, something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Did they think you guys maybe were trying to get the advantage, or?
I think it was just buddy deal, you know. The official.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so the NHRA in bed with the Mopar. Yeah. How did this happen? Thank you, Ronnie Socks. Here's a carburetor, and there you go. We should probably tell folks, too, your father raced in what division?
NHRA Superstock.
Yeah, when Superstock was Superstock, it wasn't like there's like this humongous different version of,
right.
Like today, there's so many different Superstock versions of the show.
Yeah.
I mean, your dad raced up against some serious names.
Yeah, yep. I remember him and Paul Rossi used to go at it like quite a bit, you know.
As a matter of fact, we just saw Paul Rossi at PRI. You know, my God, the guy comes like he's a rock star.
Yeah.
You know,
he was
nice guy
back,
though.
He was that way back in the day, too.
Oh, was he? Did he sign your autograph? I mean, he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
But boy, you knew he was the presence in the room, man.
Yeah.
I mean, when your dad's racing against those folks and stuff, I mean, at that time, they were just other racers. I mean, everybody else I read about in magazines went, wow,
Yeah,
you know?
Right. Yeah, they were just regular guys like my dad was, you know.
And like you are, and now like Del will be.
Yep.
Holy God, you know, and seriously, here's the scoop. We really haven't even scratched the surface of the Holbrook thing. Not even yet. Come on back with us, and let's do another one of these things, because there's more canned stories that normally like hooks them into coming back. But I mean, there is so much more stuff talking about your dad that we didn't talk about. I mean, even your own career.
Yep.
I mean, how long did you race? I mean, you're still racing now, but I mean, in the heyday of heydays.
Well, I know I started when I was 16, and you know, I haven't really quit too much. You know, I think we sat out 1 year.
Wow. Are you going to quit?
I'm sure I will at some time. My bodies will tell me to, you know, eventually, you know.
There's going to be a question, will you ever go up against Del?
I'm sure I will.
Cross center line and like take him into the wall? And
No, that'd cost me way too much money.
I mean, that's got to be, I mean, didn't Holly try to talk him out of it?
No.
At all?
She was nervous, like I am, you know.
Yeah.
I'm more nervous standing on the starting line watching him than being in the car, you know, because it's just your kid, you know, so.
So why didn't you put him in Super Stock U class, like 273 two-barrel station wagon class, and go, son, have fun.
Right. I don't know. It's just we enjoy going fast and heads-up racing, you know.
Now do you understand when we talk about Chris Holbrook, how he is one of our very favorite guests to have on with us? Come back?
Yes, for sure.
Unbelievable. We'll be here. So we'll be back with Holbrook Racing real soon. But thank you for staying with the only station that gives a damn about the greatest sport on earth, and that's drag racing. Welcome to CKiW Radio 76.